Okay, and we are live now. What's going on, everyone? How are you tonight? Welcome to yet another edition of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast. You are listening to show number 233. It's certainly great to have you all here tonight as we dive into all the news and topics over the last couple of weeks. We took off last weekend on account of the long weekends for both Canada Day and the USA's Independence Day. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you just need some time off, right? We certainly do. Anyways, I'm Invader, and there's a lot of stuff to cover. In fact, there's probably some stuff that we'll have to save until next week's show. Recently, there's been talk about a culture of crunch at Bethesda Studios, with Xbox higher-up Matt Booty having to respond. We'll get into that. As well, earlier this week, Xbox announced that it will be removing Xbox 360 games from Games with Gold. Is this a necessary step? Again, we will get into that, along with some PlayStation news that's been making the rounds. But first, let me introduce all the gentlemen on tonight's panel, starting off with Eric Shockley. Buddy, hey, how you been the past week? Eric?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, pretty good. Just been trying to get to finish that Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Trying to get through that. I think I jumped over to Sonic Origins like the week after, so I didn't get through all of it. But trying to just finish that up. But yeah, other than that, just bouncing in between that and Sonic Origins. But yeah, ready to get into these topics today. But yeah, that's what I've been playing so far. Trying to finish.
All right, very cool, very cool. And you know what? I have that game downloaded, the new Turtles game. I haven't got a chance to dive into it as of yet. Would you recommend everybody to play it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if you played any of the like, I'm sure pretty much everybody has all the Turtles in Times games back on the SNES. But yeah, it's really cool that you have way more abilities than those past games. There's some aspects I don't maybe like as much, but like yeah, it definitely the moves it gives you way better move set that it's not as simple as the old one, so it actually gives you a lot more bigger move set to play around with. Um, so yeah, definitely try it out. Plus, you got all the song. Well, obviously it's on Game Pass, and you have the lot more multiplayer options these days than you did back then. So yeah, definitely check it out.
All right, I certainly will. Again, I've just been busy over the past few weeks, but I will definitely be diving into that soon. Moving on down the list here, Centurion Pal. Hey, how's everything been at your end? Been playing any games? Doing anything in life over the past week or so?
Oh, definitely busy. Never, no rest for the weary, as it says. But you know what? We had last Sunday off. This Sunday, we're here. I'm excited. We're here to chat games. Of course, I have been gaming. I went back into at least my backlog and also back in time. Decided to play Ghostbusters, the video game remastered. Had an absolute blast doing that. Beat it already. Completely. It was very nostalgic and also bittersweet to see Harold Ramis once again. A lot of people don't, if you don't know, Ghostbusters, the video game, was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. It falls right in line with the lore leading up to Ghostbusters Afterlife. And honestly, in my opinion, this was the Ghostbusters 3 that everybody wanted. And if you haven't played Ghostbusters, the video game yet, you really need to. Also been hammering out the Deadlands DLC on ESO. Finally trying to get up to the current DLC that came out in June. I do have one gripe for the first time in years, because actually me and Blue and my buddy Gingerbeard went back and looked at my first achievement in that game. I got my first achievement in Elder Scrolls Online in 2016. And here it is, 2022. I'm still playing, but I have for the first time ran into my first basically game-breaking bug. I had to completely restart a mission. That was a pain in the ass because I ended up picking up an item out of order, and that's not supposed to how it works in that game. I did obviously submit the bug report to Bethesda. I'm curious if they're even going to fix it, because I'm technically playing DLC that's about almost a year old at this point, and if they haven't patched that out yet, I don't think they probably ever will, which is kind of shocking to me. And there's other things going on, like long loading screens that are only associated with that part of the game so far. And I mean, like, this is the first time I've ever really had a gripe with DSO. But man, other than that, toss it over to Crusader.
Man, you really love that game, huh?
Right? No, I've definitely put some time into it. It's definitely got a good story. I mean, if you get into the story content, there's Aarox, Aarox the Mutilator. Aarox has been banished into the body of a rat, and he is this absolute comical relief, because Aarox is actually this great big fire breathing dragon, but because of his power, somebody snakishly banished him into the body of a rat, and so he hangs out in your backpack constantly just talking crap through this entire thing. And it was very enjoyable, the story at least, to have him part of it, and definitely adding a lot more flavor to the story.
That rat bastard. Sorry,
Oh,
I
dude,
just want to say that.
Oh, by the way, he's actually a Dade rat. He is a demon rat. He's not a typical rat.
Okay, all right. So I'm okay. I guess I can't get away with saying that then. But that's pretty cool, though. That's pretty cool. Moving on to Crusader, Mr. Crusader. How have you been?
Oh, I've been great. It's been a while since we've been on. I have played a bunch of games since last time we've been on. Beat Cyberpunk, started and beat it. Beat Dead Space 3. I haven't played the DLC yet, waiting for a friend to play that with, but did beat Dead Space 3. I enjoyed it. I don't know why. I get why a lot of people don't like it as much as the originals, but I don't think it deserves quite as much hate as it got. I enjoyed it a lot. And I have been playing I've been back in my looter shooter grind. I played and beat the Outriders expansion, World Slayer. Freaking excellent. You like anyone in chat likes looter games? It has probably some of the best looter systems I've seen in a game, and they were made way better in the expansion. Way better. The expansion is really only for those kind of people that want to do the end game grind, though. The actual campaign is quite short.
Okay.
But if you, I would say to anyone who had problems when Outriders first came out, give the game a shot again. It's still on Game Pass. You don't need the expansion to have the fun that I'm having. Go and try it again if you like looter games. It's good. And I've been playing my version of ESO to Centurion, which is Destiny 2, baby. Grinding out Season of the Haunted and Witch Queen and Season of the Chosen content to try and because I like Destiny a lot, a whole lot, but I kind of needed a bit of a break from it in the beginning of this year. I played through Witch Queen in the raid and stuff and had a blast. Then I needed a little break, and now I'm back and grinding the living dickens out of Destiny 2.
The Living Dickens, I like that one.
Yes.
All right, yeah. That works. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had a chance to play a whole lot. I've been diving in and out of Fall Guys, which I gotta say, guys, I kind of like. I wouldn't say I'm addicted to it actually, but it's a lot of fun. It's very easy to get into, and I just kind of like the obstacle course games. I don't know, it's fun.
Whenever my family whenever my younger sisters and brothers-in-laws come over, they're just glued to that like the entire time they're over. It's a blast for like a casual like family game and seeing how people grew up and don't make it. But yeah, it's pretty. How far did you get? Did you get a crown?
I got a crown in the
nice.
Not solo, but in the what was it, the doubles thing, they just had that Halo event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I did that. I guess it was doubles or something. I can't remember the terminology for it, but I got one of those. I haven't won one by myself just yet, but I don't know. It's very easy to get into. I mean, it's just, again, it's a very simple platformer. There's not much to it besides the obstacles, but it just works. You know, the courses are fun and I don't know, just very lighthearted overall. So, I like it. I like it a lot personally. But again, Crusader as well. I definitely need to get into or get back into Outriders because I had a lot of fun with it. I was playing as the Technomancer class, and
Yes.
it was just a blast.
Yeah, that's the new, I rolled up a new character to play with my friends so we could experience the expansion together without having very disparate characters, and Technomancer is insane. It's insane. Some of the most fun I've had playing a video game.
Plus, I just like that name, Technomancer. It sounds like,
Yes.
actually, I think there's a video game named after that, by the way. Yeah, that's right. I think it's a spiders game or something. But it just, I don't know. It sounds like a cool like 90s or 80s movies name, Technomancer. But it just, yeah, I don't know. I just really like Outriders. I know it got a lot of crap when it launched, but I have a soft spot for it.
I mean, it was broken at launch. Like, it's not like the gameplay was bad, you know. Like, it just, you couldn't get into the game. People's inventories getting deleted. Those problems are gone now. Tell you what. That's what I'm telling you. Everyone, go give it a shot again.
Oh, yeah, Axel, you're right. Yeah, it's called the Technomancer. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, we're thinking, the same game. Yep. Guys in the chat, just so you know, and everybody tuning in, General MLD is running a little bit behind, but he will be here. Just give him a few minutes. As well, Tim Dog should be here. He's traveling right now. I think he's out west, and he should be tuning in soon. He's just on a bit of a different schedule at the moment. But hey, you know what? We got a really awesome show ahead. And before we start getting into the topics, please remember to smash that like button. Share this show out across social media. You know, the Bluebird app, Twitter, and a whole bunch of others. And hey, if you're new to the channel, please sub to it. We would love to have you here. And it's great seeing you all here in the chat. So, with that said, why don't we get right into things? And the first matter of business tonight is some Bethesda talk. Recently, there's been articles out describing coerced work conditions at Bethesda game studios, leading to crunch. Over the past few years, there's been more and more talk about that, more articles and so on across different studios, different publishers. And this deals specifically with mismanagement and forced overtime during the development of Fallout 76. Now, Centurion Buddy, let's lead off with you here. What do you make of all these allegations regarding the crunch over at Bethesda Game Studios?
Am I allowed to be truthful?
Possibly. I mean, we do like to lie on the show, but I mean you could be honest. You could be honest for once.
Well, I'm just saying, man. Like, it's not going to be gumdrops and lollipops. I did bring a can of gas with me today to set fire to the chat. And I'm not trying to be negative to this. Like, let me just at least first say, I do not believe that employees should be mistreated in any way. I believe human beings deserve rights. I have a whole long spiel I could give on that. You know, people deserve to be treated in this world a lot better than they are treated. That being said, though, why are we, for starters, bringing up crunch on Bethesda for a game that Microsoft had nothing to do with back in the day? That was a total different work culture. I think Matt Booty even touched on that. And also, you know, I love how one of the articles said, let's not forget that 2018 actually wasn't that long ago. You know what? I love how people want to condemn somebody for something that happened years ago. At least here in the state of Arizona, a criminal is allowed to accuse himself of his past mistakes after 2 years, but apparently in Kotaku world, we can hold on to it for at least 4+. Oh, well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, but I love also how all of a sudden I'm thinking that a lot of these articles are trying to live vicariously through themselves, through their bitching and moaning about crunch, because I really want to know What job in the history of the human beings working is all gumdrops, lollipops, sunshine, and rainbows 24/7? You're walking in, high-fiving your boss, giving out hugs. He's making sure that you're feeling okay today and that everything is just peachy keen. Really? I love my job. I do my job quite well. There's times things happen that I don't agree with my job. In my world, I have a friend who now lives in Montana. Did you know he welds on nuclear reactors underwater? Like, yeah, he has a very scary, dangerous job, but he knew what he was signing up for. As a matter of fact, he's also a cancer survivor. When he went through chemotherapy, he didn't lose his hair because why? He works near nuclear reactors. He has a natural buildup immunity for radiation therapy. Yeah, it's very creepy, very scary. He's actually invited me to go to work with him to actually operate some of the equipment because I have a history in welding. I actually told him no because I didn't feel comfortable around a nuclear reactor, and he respected that. And this is what I'm just saying about developers. Like, I understand that your jobs can sometimes be hard, but in my opinion, I think the biggest thing that right now that the gaming industry is facing, and it's not crunch, it's the toxic BS that social media is pushing on these developers. I mean, these developers anymore are hiding in the shadows because, I mean, like, literally, you could get a photo of someone's anatomy in your DM just because you're not answering the question they want to hear. I just really love how Kotaku is always trying to, beat the drum on crunch when it's like, yes, there is times that you are going to have to work harder at your job than you signed up for, but that's your job. Have some honor and dignity. And if by some chance you're not happy with it, literally no one's holding a gun to your head. And no, I'm not saying that it's just easy for you to up and quit, but start making the moves to start moving on with your life. Start putting out some resumes. Start making a goal-determined path for yourself to get yourself out of that situation. And that's where when you read these articles, I love how they just keep reaching back in time, wanting to talk about Fallout 76. Yes, Fallout 76 was a game that is definitely shrouded in a lot of mismanagement, a lot of development woes. But there is also a lot of games that have that same thing behind them. And I just really do not enjoy the fact that somehow they're trying to push this off as like Microsoft created this culture when this wasn't even under the Microsoft banner at that time. I've read numerous articles. I've listened to a lot of people saying it, but at this point, I'm just throwing my arms up in the air on the fact that, nobody here can honestly say that their job has not asked them to work a little harder.
Yeah, and you seem to be getting a lot of favorable comments in the chat because of that too. And honestly, I agree with you personally. And like you said, this is an older report too, coming from 2018, I believe. We're 4 years off now. After that, Microsoft has bought them, and I don't know, like, honestly, like,
Wasn't it Naughty Dog that was accused of turning the AC off? Now, that's just egregious. Like, I'm sorry, if you're going to ask me to stay late, no problem. But if you're going to start turning the AC off, oh, hell no, I'm going to walk out the damn door. But that's where I'm just, we're talking about people that were asked to work a little longer. Yes, their managers weren't exactly doing things right. It may have been a waste of their time.
Can I chime in just for a second?
Go for it.
No, go for it.
The one thing I will say though is it's fine to be asked to stay late, every once in a while. When we hear the stories that it's going on for like a few months consistently, day after day, that's when it is a problem. And I don't know. I have to read the report again. I don't think that they necessarily reported that here. Like, when we're launching at work, I do IT work for a document repository, and like when there are go live weekends or product upgrades, I know that I'm going to be working late that week, and that's fine. But I'm not expected to do this all the time. And I can't speak to this report in particular, but when I hear like the Cyberpunk devs were crunching for literally 8 months straight, that's a problem. That's not they're being asked to work just a little extra. And I think that's something that we need to look at in these reports to see, like, well, how are they reporting the crunch? Was it crunch in like the 2 to 1 month window right before a launch? Was it for 6 to 8 months? You know, because that is a big difference. You know what I mean?
And and that's where I'm not trying to say that, people need to be worked into the ground. Let me at least, in my professional life, I literally manage the website. I do all the parts ordering. I also deal with employees. I literally do the jobs of 5 to 6 people. If I didn't work overtime anywhere from 10 to 15 hours a week, I would be so far behind on work. It would be ridiculous. Do I agree that my employer puts me in that position? No. But also at the same time, I do what I have to do because it's my job. And when I go back and look for another job somewhere else, I can at least show that the next potential employer that I was always there willing to get the job done no matter what it took. Because in all honesty, that's I had an old timer a long time ago tell me, sometimes getting the job done is like sometimes the only thing you have in life. And the last thing you want to be known for is somebody who can't get the job done. And that's where it stuck with me. And I've always been the person to make sure things get done. Yeah, my employer leads a very cushy life because of the hard work I put out. Do I agree with it? No, but I do it because it's my job. I put my roof over my wife's head, and I also accept the fact that my job, my employer has no reason at all to basically kiss my ass and tell me that it's all good every single day. But also at the same time, I have butted heads with them. I've been threatened to be fired numerous times because of things I don't agree with. And that's where I do believe people definitely have to set themselves up for a path in life. If you're doing something you don't agree with, start trying to work that, I'm reading the chat. Oh, well, all I'm just trying to get at is that, it's just this simple that unless you work for yourself or you have a lot of money at your disposal to create your own business, and you are reliant for working for other people, you're always going to be asked to do things that you may not agree with. And that's where all you can do is find a career path or a job that basically tries to line up with as much of your ideals as possible, but you can't expect it to be 100% perfect. And that's where it's just really interesting, this whole idea of crunch. Like, why is it so wrong for people to like everybody wants to make the thing of, like, why do we have to work hard? Well, if we look at the other end of the spectrum, what happens to a human being when they don't move around too much? They become unhealthy. There's numerous things that can happen to you just from not being physically active. And that's where I have learned from working hard that you get what you put into life. And if you're going to work hard at life will sometimes, fight you on that, but at least you can feel like I'm working damn hard at it. And the only reason why I make these comments is because, like, what my wife goes through, she does administration work for a property management company, and she does it all from home. If her mouse doesn't move for 2 minutes, her boss is on Microsoft Zoom wanting to know why her mouse hasn't moved in 2 minutes. I mean, that's how it works. That's what I mean. Like, you are like when these guys in these reports, they monitored you when you went to the bathroom. I've had to monitor employees that went to the bathroom because the guy locked himself in there for 45 minutes. So that's just the woes of being in management. You have to control people and their inhibitions on if they don't want to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's an interesting take there, Centurion. And really, again, I find these takes because, again, over the past few years, we've been getting different articles about this. I guess I don't want to say my concern. It's interesting, the reports coming out of, again, certain news sites, more so some than others. They talk about like crunch, etc. But again, in other workspaces, other job environments, it's a natural thing to take some overtime. I mean, we can go on talk about like a more coerced, forced overtime, but I mean, game developers do have a lot of perks too, and like.
In my opinion, I think the big problem with crunch can go hand in hand with the culture that has basically grown out of gaming. And I'm not trying to make this a diss, but it's the honest to God truth. when we see like what's going on with you know, like another subject, God of War Ragnarok, that like when we see what's going on in the culture of gaming, where people are making demands, and if they don't get the answers they're looking for, or the game that they want, or the functionality that they want, they go absolutely batshit crazy and do stuff on social media that is completely questionable. And that's where it's like, so we have somehow put these developers up on this pedestal of, you better just grind your ass off for this game or else. And the executives see this, and the executives all know they want that money. And if they see the fan base losing its mind, now the executives are putting their employees under pressure to meet this demand. What would happen if by some chance all of gaming came out and said, it's okay, take the time you needed, it's okay if we got to delay a game 6 months, a year, whatever, to at least make sure that the employees have some peace of mind and a little bit of stability in their life, maybe we wouldn't have this problem.
I agree with that completely. That is something that, and I think every one of us at some point has been at least slightly guilty of that. I know I have, and I try to work on that. I don't want to be that person, you know? And I think that is something that like each and every person who engages with gaming on any form of social media needs to at least check themselves, and you know, like, are we ourselves feeding this culture? I agree with you completely there, Centurion.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to that too, I mean, you know, we're very careful on this show about, you know, some of the commentary we make. Okay, some more so than others, to be honest.
Oh no, I'm trying to be PG. I could be dropping
no,
F-bombs like crazy.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about with regards to, you know, certain developers, right? Because we make comments basically, you know, every other show about somebody, right? Or suggest something, but
we've been critical of 343 here.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. No, and that's no comment there. But at the same time, you know, I'm very careful in my criticisms, right? Because, you know, it's, don't take it too far, right?
Yes.
Again, like, guys, you know, you should just switch off. But then again, I could say that about developers too. Some developers spend way too much time on social media. Like, again, I'm not saying that they, you know, deserve a lot of the unwanted kind of stuff that they're getting, but some developers are a little more talkative than others, let's just say, and some of them do get into it. Well, they do get into some rather nasty fights, and it just leads to more of this unwanted stuff. So in some ways, some developers don't help that way either. Just saying, because some of it do bring them on themselves. But
I think the main thing is that there needs to be a choice. So it couldn't be like, hey, well, if you don't crunch, if you don't work this overtime and work, you know, 50 or 60 hours this week, you know, it's either that or work somewhere else. That the forced overtime, I think, is kind of
it's
as long as they're being compensated. You know, I work for a job that they compensate you other than the overtime, especially if they really need extra people. They'll do things that incentivize you more than the overtime. We're like, okay, crap, you know, shoot, I should probably I need some extra money. Cool, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to take advantage. And there's plenty of people that fill that void. And a lot of us are, you know, that don't pick up those extra hours. We're totally fine with them, you know, making all that extra money. So it's kind of like so if they could do like here they could do incentivize with like I don't know, a percentage, or like hey, maybe you'll get more, you know, percentage of the profit, like profit sharing, if you work this amount if you hit this amount of extra like overtime hours. So that could incentivize a lot of their staff to like, oh, okay, cool, I'll actually get more, I'll bank more of my, you know, if they have sharing or something, of, hey, if this game makes it to the holiday season, because otherwise if we don't crunch, it misses the holiday window, maybe doesn't make that extra, you know, hit that extra stratosphere of where it could hit, you know, being in that sweet spot of the holiday season. Well, if I work those extra hours and we hit that, then maybe I get a little extra bonus, or, you know, a bigger percentage or something. You know, you could do a million different things. So, but yeah, well, as far as like how employee,
go ahead.
Yeah,
there can't be punishments. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't be punishing an employee who can't work the overtime. Like people got families, you know?
Yeah.
Like if the person literally cannot work the overtime, but they are working every last bit of their hours, they should not be in any way penalized for not working the overtime. Because that's another problem is like they won't be forced overtime, but they'll like wink wink nudge nudge, you'd better do it or we'll replace you.
Exactly.
That's also not okay.
Exactly there, Crusader. If you have a family of 10 cats that you have to feed, you have to get
Well,
home
now.
for work, then, that's super important. Okay, obviously I'm poking fun at the situation, but I think everybody gets what, you mean. There's other things apart from than work, right? And you can't be bullied into, or you shouldn't be bullied into staying
Into
at
working
work.
extra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There should be incentives and no penalization for not. Like that's how it should be. And there was one. I will give the Kotaku article one interesting thing. I didn't realize that Microsoft was not switching everyone's like benefit plans and like retirement packages and things like that from the companies they were buying. They're still on whatever Bethesda had. Like literally nothing at the company changed when they were bought. And that is something I didn't know, because I figured that when the new employees come in, they'd like I would be excited to be on Microsoft's benefit package. I've heard it's freaking fantastic, and that is the one thing I think that was probably should have been called out from that article. That like was I do remember reading that, and I think that there's a line between not changing the company you're buying at all and like literally doing something that would just make it slightly better for the new employees. Because I guarantee Bethesda's retirement package and like benefits were not as good as Microsoft's. Like I would be shocked if they were better, And I do think that is something that should be something that like Microsoft should really look into with all of the companies they're buying, is actually giving if their benefit package is better than what that company was previously offering to their employees, those employees should have the option to move over to whatever Microsoft is offering for employees of their tier.
See, and I can't agree with you more on that. And I feel that would have been a much more impactful and heartwarming heartwarming article. That would have been the focus of, rather than, oh my God, they're asked to work too hard, rather than, hey, Microsoft is this great company, but for some reason they didn't do this with the benefits. All these employees are not benefiting from Microsoft owning them. That's a whole nother subject. And that, to me, is the more groundbreaking conversation. And I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because that was part of it, was like the employees thought that they were going to be moving over to their stuff, only to find out that like when it happened, they weren't. That is something that should be called out. And like, because I'm a contractor, I have crap benefits, but like if I was at a company and my company was bought by someone and I didn't get better benefits, and someone who works for that company has better benefits, I'd be pissed. So I do think that is something that needs to be looked at Microsoft.
I'll admit I kind of skimmed over that stuff, but it's good that you guys caught it, and it's certainly worth looking into. Actually, I'd be really interested. We should do some investigating into that, about the benefits and whatnot. Oh, look who snuck his way in here stealthily. General MLD, what's up, man?
Hey, yeah, doing pretty good here. Sorry for that, but yeah, it looks like you guys are well underway here.
Yeah, we're just talking about the Kotaku article regarding Bethesda crunch. I don't know, do you have any thoughts on it, MLD? I mean, we were just kind of talking about, like, they do bring up a lot of old things from articles back from, like, 2018. Obviously, things are, it's like 4 or 5 years afterwards now with Microsoft being in charge. Like, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Oh yeah, I mean that's definitely a point I was thinking about. Like, 4 years old. I mean, I did read a lot of things back in the day on how Fallout 76 was made, and how a lot of crunch was involved making that, and how the game still launched, in spite of that. So that's very interesting. But I feel like Bethesda's learned a lot in those last 4 years, especially for the mistakes of regarding Fallout 76. Not only in terms of the game design, but in terms of how to go about making the games. So I think Xbox has done a lot since then. I mean, they only really owned them like what the deal went through what last year.
March
So like
last year.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So but I think they're hands off where creatively where it counts. So let the creative juices flow. That's all good. But in terms of like HR related stuff, I feel like that. I mean they just have to be implementing a universal HR policy across the board. I think that crunch should be incentivized and not like mandated. I don't think there's a toxic crunch culture going on an Xbox. I mean, you don't really get that impression a lot. If anything, they're giving their hands-off approach is making games come out longer. Like a lot of games
Yeah.
that we know are in development, they at least have another year or two added to their dev cycles that we know of. Like compared to pre-COVID, and I feel like that will pay off in the end. So long as Xbox, Microsoft executives, they're not like breathing down their throats, demanding that they get the game done by X date. Like again, Starfield and Redfall, they were delayed. Like if there was in my opinion, if there was a crunch problem, those games would not be delayed, and they would just tell like Todd Howard to like get these games done this year, whatever you got to do, get it done. But no, like they got delayed, and for good reason. I feel like what 343, like they keep the community manager. They keep saying how like they know that they're behind on content, but they're gonna put things out in a way that doesn't overwork the employees. Like, even though we all know that Halo Infinite needs as much content as possible, they're still going about it in a way that doesn't burn the employees out. So overall, though, I feel like Xbox is in a pretty good position crunch wise, and if there is any like rumblings on that, like within individual studios, I feel like they're going to do their best to kind of like stamp that out, or like kind of correct the problem, see if there's any complaints and address that internally. I don't think it's going to get to the point where it becomes like public whistleblower kind of knowledge. I feel like their HR is pretty good once people actually utilize it and make use of it. So I think they're in a good place around now.
All right, all right. I mean, overall, guys, some really interesting conversations going on here. I mean, I love the back and forth that everybody's been doing. Um, I mean, again, the talk about industry crunch, I think a lot, if not most industries, have some kind of crunch involved, whether it is working lots of overtime, doing some extra stuff. I know sometimes I have to do that because we might be short staffed, which is where I work. That happens quite often, unfortunately. And a variety of other things. And I think people in the chat brought that up as well. Yeah,
if
go
you've
ahead.
listened to Richard Hogue over at Hogue Law, he's even described lawyers' offices that literally have showers and cots in them because you do not go home.
True.
Yeah, it's awful. God, I'm not a lawyer.
Well, why do you think in hospitals and such, when you're on shift at a hospital, these ain't no 8-hour shift with a lunch break and some mandatory breaks? I mean, you're there, and whether you're in the middle of eating a sandwich, if somebody needs your assistance at a hospital, you're like, we all know. And that's where it's like, I'm not one of those ones to feed into the idea of, like your job is asking too much of you. And I'm like, I've never met a job that never did ask too much of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I remember at a hospital being there early morning, and there was an accident on the highway, and it was backed up. No, actually, you know what? It wasn't an accident. It was a snowstorm, and it was like a freak snowstorm. It was like 40, 50 centimeters. It just happened this past year. Anyways, the night shift had to stay for additional hours in the morning because the morning staff just, again, they the majority of them couldn't make it, or they were stuck in traffic because, again, everything was clogged up, the roads were terrible, and they had to keep the staff back and have the overtime because otherwise they would have no staff to take care of patients and so on. So again, a lot of industries do have that kind of thing, unfortunately. I mean, as long as it's not, you know, a really, really bad situation, but at the same time, not to keep repeating ourselves, it's just one of those things where it just kind of comes within the territory of a lot of jobs, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I think that the big thing, balance is the key, and I think that there are definitely studios in gaming that have a massive imbalance, even project to project. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the thing we should always be vigilant for and call out when appropriate. It's just hard to call out a game that released, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that the crunch culture that we don't know if it still exists anymore. I can call out the managers at the time and tell them to never do that again, but that's about it, you know?
Yeah. But we're gonna be hearing this for years to come. It's not gonna be something that really, again, goes away. So it's gonna be a topic for a long period of time.
So my devil's argument on that is, you know, the biggest game of 2022 is getting ready to release this November. I'm curious what it took to get it to release on time.
Pentiment?
That game only got one delay.
I am too.
You're talking about Pentiment, right?
Well,
yeah.
It had one public delay. I don't know that, because Schreier said it was targeting September and then it was targeting November in his report on it from a few weeks back. So it's had internal delays, at least one additional internal delay, probably 2 or 3. So I would be curious to see like how many times it was internally delayed and what its culture was like. I'd like to hear from the devs at FromSoft as well about Elden Ring, because Japan is notoriously worse than the more Western studios with stuff like this on a, you know. It's just not reported because I mean that their culture is more to that extreme than ours by a lot. By like a whole lot. And
I mean,
so
how
I would
many?
be curious to hear a report about FromSoft or any of the Capcom or Bandai Namco or Squeenix and stuff like that.
And how many BioWare articles have we had over the past few years, right, detailing similar instances? So
yeah, well, you know,
right. So, but it's
sad.
And it is, and there was some stuff that, you know, it's always anonymous sources, but you know, it's just one of those things where, again, you know, some things sound like industry standard stuff and other things, well, you know, other things do sound pretty bad, but you don't know if it's real or not. It's hard to say in some cases, but you know, you want things to be obviously the most manageable and as possible, right? But yeah, I guess any more thoughts on this before we move on? Okay. Well, either way, guys, I mean, crunch is a thing, unfortunately. Just a matter of, again, like overtime, if you want to work it or not. It's not going to be going away anytime soon, at least in my opinion anyways. It happens with most jobs. But, okay, we will move on now to some other news, and there will be some changes coming to the Games with Gold subscription service. Earlier this week, Microsoft sent emails to subscribers stating that, and I quote, "From October 2022, Games with Gold will no longer include Xbox 360 titles, and that they've reached the limit of availability to bring Xbox 360 games to the catalog." Obviously, it sucks when things get taken out of a service, but I think we've kind of been expecting this for a while now. Eric Shockley, pal, I'll go to you first on this one. Why do you think Xbox 360 games are going away from the service now? Is it a licensing thing, like they said, or are there other causes at play here?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could see where it could be a licensing thing, but maybe not so much because, I mean, they're still taking your money and letting you purchase them on their store. So they would still be having the license. And you would think getting some of those games to... Now, they are different from PlayStation, whereas when they gave you PS3 games, they weren't yours. You had to stay subscribed. Whereas these, you actually own them outright whenever they would be in games with gold. So that part's a little bit different. I mean, I don't. It sucks that they're gonna go away, and there's not like an immediate like, oh, okay, there's maybe here's the benefit. There should have been something like that because for a while it's been pretty crappy as far as like what we've been seeing on the games with gold. I mean, we've had past months where we had at least one decent Xbox One game and a couple decent 360 games like Metal Gear Rising, some of the other Star Wars backwards compatible games. So some months that's usually what I would always be looking at, and not the Xbox One games, because lately they have been actually not very good. But every so often you would see a 360 game in there that, oh, I haven't, I've been waiting to get that one. Cool, they save me some money there. Plus they actually get to own them and keep them. So I'm usually, whenever I'm looking at that list, that's the first thing I'm looking at is the 360 game.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this means they're gonna beef up the games that they've been putting in the Xbox One category. Hopefully those are a little bit better and they stop doing duplicates, as we've seen multiple times.
Yes.
And I wish they would get rid of that. Oh, it's so stupid to me. Hey, download this game in the first 15 days and then download these two other games in the second 15, because I always end up forgetting. I'll miss it by like one day. I was going to get Hydro Thunder. It came back as a repeat. I just never got it the first time. And I was like, cool. Hey, it's a repeat, but I don't have it. But then when I went to go download it, I was like, oh crap, it's the 16th and I had missed it. I'm like, damn it. I hate that they do that. It's just stupid. Just put the whole month. Don't lock it down, because then I'll be like, wait, I'm gonna wait until the next I have to wait till the second half of the month. I have to remember, hey, I can't do it in the first 2 weeks when you just told me what the game was. I have to wait till the 16th, and by then I'm like already forgot about it, and then it'll be like the next month and I'll miss it by a day. I'm like, oh crap, it's I totally forgot to go re-download that because they had to wait 2 weeks to download it. It's dumb. So I wish they would get rid of that. But back to the original point, hopefully it's that hopefully they're beefing it up in some capacity. At least with PlayStation, you lost the Vita, you lost PS3 games that they were putting in that service, but now they're giving you at least. Sometimes they kind of duplicate where it's like, hey, we already gave you PS5 games in the PS5 collection, and then we'll throw you that same game in the PS4 PS Plus games. So there is some of that going on, but now they're giving you both PS4 games and PS5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like that kind of they make it look like you're at least getting 3, whereas you got 2 before for PS4. So they are, they did improve it somewhat. You are overall getting less games on that side on PS Plus, but
their game selection
overall,
in recent months has been pretty good.
Yeah,
in my opinion, anyways.
No, it's definitely been much better than what Xbox been doing lately. So hopefully they beef it up. Otherwise, if they just cut off the 360 games and now we're just getting like the same poultry, horrible output. I would say horrible because not all these games are bad. I haven't, tried some of them, but you look at the game and you're like, really? And it'll say like we're giving you a not $100 value, and I'm like, there's no way this is adding up to $100. Or like, sure, some of those games are just because they're 360 games, so they're still like, $20-$30 for some of them, even though there's like ancient. So yeah, they're kind of inflated.
Well, it's
that's
funny.
Why I thought this.
No, it's just funny you mentioned that because the backwards compatibility sale is on right now, and I'd argue that's the prices that some of those games should be, right? Just as a regular price.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely saved me some money over the years, throwing me the whole Lost Planet collection, because those games were like almost, I think some of them were $30 if you didn't catch them on a sale. So like, But I thought it was going to be awesome in the sense that, hey, I almost didn't mind how bad it was just because, we do get Game Pass and most of us have Game Pass. So it's like, okay, but at least I was like, okay, of course they're going to throw in every 360 game that's backwards compatible. They'll eventually make the rounds. But no, you notice that they either do duplicates or I swear they would pick like the most, you know, who knows what this Xbox Live Arcade game is that's backwards compatible and throw that in there. And I'm like, come on, because we did have great months where it was like they gave us the whole Dead Space collection, Lost Planet. They gave us, quite a few different, awesome games that were in there that were 360. So I thought, okay, eventually we're gonna get, you know, they're gonna get some gems that I still haven't bought in the backwards compatible. Maybe the Max Payne they'll throw in there, like the whole Max Payne collection. I was like, sweet, they're eventually gonna throw those in there, right? No. So I'm a little disappointed in that sense, but.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have suspected that this was going to come. It was just a matter of when, right? And you look at how much of a success Xbox Game Pass has been since its inception. It's raking in a huge amount of players month by month, year by year. And it just makes sense that they would start sunsetting aspects of games with gold. I guess some people were just, including myself, were just frustrated at the amount of repeat titles that we kept getting, especially towards the end of this service. MLD, I'll go over to you on this one now. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, Games with Gold, it was a nice service. I really appreciate it. I played some games that I never thought that I would play from it. But, I will agree that it could have been better at times. What do you think of them removing it in October?
Yeah, I do think it's long overdue. I mean, since I've had Game Pass, I mean, I'm thinking about it right now. It's been several months since I downloaded a Games with Gold title. They just don't really interest me, or they're so obscure. Like, hey, I'm sure they're great games, but yeah, I feel like gamers were very like we're a certain way. Where like if it's not like a big name title, if it's not a game that you know off the top of your head, you automatically dismiss it. And I guess I'm guilty of that too. If I never heard of a certain game that's offered for the month, it doesn't matter how good it probably is. I'm just probably not gonna play it. I'm not gonna download it. I got like games on my backlog that I do know the IPs. So it's kind of a weird culture that gamers have. I think not it doesn't apply to everybody, but it does kind of ruin the month. Like see like every time they reveal the games for the month, you can see all the Twitter responses, all the social media responses. Like people don't hear about them, therefore the month is bad. It's trash, as they all say. So ultimately, this will do more good in the long run because if they focus their energies on Xbox One titles, they make them better. Eventually, they'll start including Series X titles as the generation goes on. So we'll get Xbox One and Series X games. So that I think they're going through that transition slowly but surely, and I think it'll be better off in the long run for it. Because right now, the 360 games it just drags down the perception. It just makes it seem like they don't care about gold, which clearly they put all their efforts into Game Pass. And frankly, I prefer it that way because hey, I'm a Game Pass Ultimate member. I want all the quality coming here. Like that's front and center. Every time there's a Game Pass games drop, everyone looks at it, everyone talks about it. It's a different kind of energy. So I'm glad they're putting their energies and money where it counts. But I also think that this is an aspect that should either be sunsetted or like put like new energy into it. Like make it worth talking about again in a positive light. So I think this is merely just the first step to get there. And yeah, we'll see what they do with it afterwards. Now that the games are more selective going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like to see a lot more quality Xbox One games put in there. Like even some launch games too. I don't think we've gotten Dead Rising 3, for example. That'd be a good one to put on there. At least I don't think that's been games with gold Xbox One title. But yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying, General MLD. Some good points there for sure. How about you, Crusader? You got any thoughts on this? Again, like, I've enjoyed a lot of the 360 games that we've gotten, but I'll admit over the past year, especially maybe the last 6 months or so, it just hasn't been very tantalizing, to say the least. Yeah, please share your thoughts.
So, I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I want gold to die. Like, in general, not games with gold. Gold. Everything about it. I want it gone. It doesn't fit Microsoft's, like, vision of gaming anywhere anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that they're actually moving more in that direction than they are just killing games with gold. I think we're a long ways from it. I think they need a lot more subscribers for Game Pass before they could get rid of gold. But I found it really funny that it came out this month when this month had such a better selection of 360 games than it did Xbox One games, because both Torchlight and Thrillville Off the Rails are both really good 360 games.
Mm-hmm.
Thrillville Off the Rails is a little bit more obscure, but like it's like the roller coaster tycoon for console game, but way back when, right? It's a very decent game.
But haven't they given away Torchlight before?
I have no idea.
I want to say yes, but
I have
they have.
Yeah, I've had gold multiple times in the through periods, but then there are periods where I didn't have gold because like I wasn't playing on my Xbox at all, like especially in college when like I just didn't have time. So I there's lots of months that I don't know what they did and didn't have. I just know that for this particular month, those games are both good. You know what I mean? And I didn't have them. But it's a little saddening because like it is part of the big thing that like Microsoft does have the big original Xbox and 360 games available on the Xbox One, the Xbox Series S, and the Xbox Series X. That being said, I do understand where they're coming from. It's hard to license some of the games because like some of the games are in licensing hell. Like like it is a miracle that we even got the Max Payne games on the backwards compatible list in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are a licensing nightmare between Remedy and Rockstar. You know, so just getting them to like being able to license these games to go on the service is a pain in general. So I'm not shocked that they're ending it and focusing on the Xbox One games. I am curious to see if the number of games we are going to have month to month drops, because right now we get 4 games. We get 2 Xbox One titles, and we get 2 either 360 or original Xbox titles. When this ends, are we just going to only be getting 2 Xbox One titles, or are we going to be getting potentially 2 Xbox One titles and 2 optimized for Series X titles? You know, that's a big question. You know what I mean? Like, is this moving the like, is this the prelude to an announcement that's going to come during that month? Because they don't need to announce that early, right? They're like, no one's going to unsubscribe from gold because of this. Because I would argue that the percentage of people that are subscribed to gold, that are subscribed to it for the games with gold, is less than like 1%, right? There's probably a couple people. There's dozens of us, dozens. But so I'd argue that people are still going to be subscribed to gold because they have to, unlike Game Pass where they want to be, because like that's the difference between the service. You have to be subscribed to gold if you want to play multiplayer games, except for free to play ones. No one really. I don't think that anyone in here, if like the only thing that gold offered was the free games, would anyone in here be subscribed to it? Like, would any of you?
Nope.
On the panel, I wouldn't.
No,
gold's just not worth it. I'm subscribed to it because I have to be.
Yeah, I mean the reality is, again, Xbox Game Pass has just become such a more premium service and has such a wider offerings of games. Sure, I'm not getting any games for, I mean, I'm still paying for both services, but it's like I have a much broader choice in my selection for games that I can play. Not just like these curated ones that they pick for the games with gold. I mean, again, you look at the reactions that they're getting, especially in the last 6-7 months from the games, and it's just like, oh, why did you choose that game? Why did you choose that game? You're not going to win over everybody, obviously, and it depends on taste. However, people just want to be able to go into a basket of games and select what they want rather than being it curated by somebody else.
Yeah, and I mean, Game Pass is still kind of curated by someone else. There's just a lot more, and you get a lot more per month. Like, we get 2 drops per month on Xbox Game Pass that are always larger than the single games with gold drop. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a fact. Like, I don't think I've seen a game or a Game Pass month where we have gotten less than like 10, 15 games. You know what I mean? So, I'm not torn up about this. I do find it really funny that more times than not, the 360 games are the better games. So I really do hope they step up the quality from the Xbox One era and start grabbing some better Xbox One titles. And I do hope it's a sign that they are going to be including an optimized for Series X, like maybe even just one of them. You know what I mean? Because like those games are all mostly like $60. Like there's a bunch of optimized for Series X games that like aren't, because like the Resident Evil games, like we got optimized all the way back to 6 or was it 7? That they all got the like ray tracing and higher frame rates and everything.
Yeah, a good portion
just
of
recently.
them did. Yeah.
Like maybe we'll see one of those show up. You know what I mean? Like, and that'd be awesome. I just hope that this does mean that we aren't just losing something straight up, that they are moving it forward. Because if they are losing it, then my hope is then that gold just dies. Because like I think that would be better for the entire ecosystem if gold would just disappear and people could just play online games without it. I think that would be better for the idea of you're playing with your streaming friends, you're playing with your console friends, and you're playing with your PC friends. Because like no barriers, just play the games. And Game Pass even takes down some of those barriers because you don't got to put out the $60 to buy that game. You put out the $10 to $15 to play that game.
Yeah.
So I hope that this is a sign that either they're moving towards upgrading games with gold or moving towards killing gold.
Yeah, and again, it's a shame too. I mean, if you look at the backwards compatible Xbox 360 list, I think there's something over 600 backwards compatible titles. It's a little over, I think, the last time I checked it, and there's a really awesome selection of games there. It's too bad that again,
well, some of those companies might not want to license them because it is a separate license from having it available for sale on the store, because Microsoft has to pay them some kind of amount of money to hand it out to their subscribers for free. I mean, it's the same kind of licensing that goes on with Game Pass. It's just slightly different because like the people get to keep those forever versus when they're licensing it for Game Pass, it's on Game Pass for X amount of months, then it leaves, and like that company has the chance to not only make the money from Microsoft from the contract, but also like make a sale when it leaves Game Pass because someone might be buying it because, oh, I want to keep this game forever. So it is like not everyone's going to want to put their games on the service, and they may not even want to deal with distributing an older game, because like what if the game has some bugs and then it becomes a story that, oh, this game was given out and players found bugs from this like 12-year-old game. Like some companies may not want to deal with that headache.
I'll be very curious what the last 2 months of games are going to be, though. No word of a lie. I'm wondering if they're like saving some really good games to give away or not. But
have they given away like all the Gears games?
The last one was Gears 5, I think.
I know they gave Gears 5 away when they tried to boost the price of gold back in the was almost like a year and a half now. because
They
they
probably
tried to make the
figure-
service look better, but it didn't really
They probably
work.
figured they already gave those
Yeah.
away because
Yeah.
for anyone that's, I think it was, I don't know if it was just if you bought or if you just played the Gears Ultimate, they gave you all 360
did they?
games digitally. Yeah, I remember
didn't
that.
know
That's how I have all 3 of them in my collection, is because
That's really cool.
I bought that. And most
Um,
people bought that game back then because there wasn't that much to play.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were hyped to get back in Gears 1.
I do
Remastered.
wonder, like, are there some? Maybe they could give away some of the like Bethesda 360 games. Like maybe we'll see like New Vegas show up. You know,
Skyrim.
because they don't got to license those. They got them in house. You know,
They can give away Skyrim.
Oh.
Everybody already owns 5 different copies of it,
is
right?
is the
I
original
feel like-
Skyrim backwards compatible?
No.
Actually, I don't know.
I don't think it is. Yeah, I think they released special edition so that they didn't bother making
Yeah,
the
for
other
many
one backwards
times as
compatible.
they released that, I'm pretty sure they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, why would that?
It's like Burnout Paradise was backwards compatible, but as soon as they decided to do a remaster, they took it down.
Yeah.
How-
So you know,
yeah. No, actually, I would love to see a game like, even the last games that they added in November. Some of them would be pretty cool, like Fear 2, for example, or Fear 3. Oh, that would be fantastic. Great games to have.
Give us, which is not going to happen, but give us Mortal Kombat digital.
Maybe.
which one is that? The one that has like RoboCop and they can't because of the licensing for?
No, it has Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
But it sucks because some people did buy that digitally, and when they made it backwards compatible, it just like showed up in their collection, because that's how you see reviews on the store. I'm like, wait, how
Right.
did they review it if they didn't? But I was like, oh, they must have bought it
They owned
digitally
it
way
digital back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. How about you, Centurion? What's your take on the whole games with gold 360 games getting again sunsetted?
Well, another controversial statement coming down. We should have seen the writing on the wall when Microsoft tried to raise the price of Xbox Gold or games with gold, whatever you want to call it. Which shows that they were trying to price Xbox Live Gold out of the market so that way people would have to be shoehorned into Game Pass. Is it right? No. But are they going to do it? Yes. They're devaluing the games with gold. They're devaluing it. I actually do not expect them to give out more games or to try to somehow supplement what they're taking out. I honestly do feel that this is a direct path that they are going to slowly chisel away at the value with games with gold to basically devalue the concept of it to where people will stop using games with gold and they'll just use Game Pass. And that's where I really do think Microsoft will take the approach of you're just going to pay a high dollar price to play online, and you're going to, and if you don't want to invest into Game Pass, then you can pay your high dollar price for playing online. Do I agree with it? No, but Microsoft probably more than likely will do it. I know everybody wants Microsoft to go to this platform of they have to make online multiplayer free. Well, I don't really foresee them doing that because their supposed competition with PlayStation. There's a small handful of games that you don't need the subscription to play online with. And I understand the argument over on PC. Well, I think the only reason why they don't want to charge for PC players is one, because they all try to say we won't pay for it. But I also believe that Microsoft cannot safeguard the systems like they do on console. I have actually had somebody try to hack my Xbox console, and Microsoft really shut them down. They are still the only game console that has ever done that for me. Both my consoles have been hacked at one time. PlayStation held the door open for them, made them a cup of coffee and showed them around, and they changed all my credentials. And it took 45 minutes on a phone call with somebody who treated me like I was lying. They were like, "Are you sure this is your account?" No, the guy from Saudi Arabia took an account that was created here in the States. It's his. Come on. That, and Microsoft at least full on was like, hey, somebody outside of the continental United States tried to log in. We thought there was something weird going on, so we actually bricked your console until you actually, tell us what's going on. They shut down my Xbox Live account. I had access to no games, nothing. I had to basically call Xbox and basically let them know it was me and that I did not authorize that, and they turned my account right back on. Hell yeah, that's worth about 10-15 bucks a month to me. People might say I'm capping for Xbox. I don't care. This is just my opinion. This is what I have been through on Xbox. I'm glad that Crusader over here is one of the guys that's on the hill that that games with gold just need to really go away because it doesn't fit what Xbox is trying to do anymore. Even though Microsoft has Game Pass, I understand it's a subscription service, but I still feel Microsoft is still giving me more value for the money that I'm putting into the ecosystem than I get over on other ecosystems. So I really do feel that games with gold is very antiquated. We've seen some of the selections, like we've been talking about it, repeat titles, games we don't know where they even came from. We all know, like Crusader touched on the licensing point. We're out here saying get this game, that game, this game, this game, and it's like we have no idea how much litigation, how much time and lawyers and contracts and all the other hoops and BS that Microsoft has to go through to make these games possible. You touched on what games was it, Crusader, that you said were licensing hell for you? Max Payne.
Max Payne are just because that IP was bought. It was like they transitioned hands, and that has made it licensing hell. Same thing happened with Alan Wake because Alan Wake was sold, and that's why it has all that music in it, and that's why Alan Wake disappeared from storefronts for a long time, including American Nightmare, the arcade one, and it was really exciting when it came back.
There's one game I'm about to name that cannot be sold anymore. When Microsoft made it backwards compatible, they gave it away for a short time on the marketplace. It wasn't even part of Games with Gold. You had to be listening to Phil Spencer and read the news articles to know this game was even free, because this game was originally created by Silicon Knights, who got into a dispute with Epic Games, and Epic Games sued the crap out of them and shut their doors. And now nobody knows who owns this game. Too Human.
Yep. Oh, I was gonna say SpongeBob. So
no, oh well,
I'm kidding,
dude. Awesome concept of Nordic mythology involving technology. It was like Cyberpunk meets Beowulf. Really cool game. But unless you were there when that game was being given away for free digitally, because even Phil Spencer says we can't sell this game. Epic Games can't sell this game. Nobody's allowed to sell this game. All we can do is give it away for free for a short time. And that's pretty much what they did. And I grabbed it. It's in my digital library, but it just goes to show, sometimes the ability to deliver these games, the ones we want, isn't possible, or it's just going to be way too expensive. And that's where I feel, I'm sorry, but Game Pass is the greener pastures for some of these developers. How would you feel hey, would you want to put your game in a service where they get it for free? And we're talking 360 games, because we know you get the license when you have a 360 game. Can you imagine being told we can either give your game away for free and we give you X amount of dollars, or we can give you X amount of dollars and you put your game in a subscription service for a certain amount of time, and then you can rescind that and get it back. So it's actually more relevant for these developers to keep control of the title, to not just flagrantly give out all these free copies of a game. And there's better protections for games with gold, with the newer stuff, with the Xbox One games, because if you stop paying for games with gold, that game is taken away from you. You technically don't own the license. As long as you have your subscription, you still have the license. That's why you get this really cool little word down in the corner of that tile that says gold, because you technically don't own that game. You are renting the licensing as long as you have the subscription service. And if you get rid of it, you no longer have that game. Sorry. And yeah, it's been cool. It was great. I've always downloaded my free games, because who's going to say no to free games? I've put them in the back catalog that I have. I might not ever play them, but they were given to me for free. But I do think it's time to move on from games with gold. I don't ever stand around and assume that Microsoft is going to be giving me free games until I'm 100 years old. I know products and subscription services like this come and go, and I really do think it's time to possibly just start sunsetting games with gold.
Mm-hmm. You see, I didn't think that was so controversial now, eh, Centurion? Like, a lot of people seem to be agreeing with you.
And well, that's cool. You got to remember, man, I got PTSD from social media.
Hey, man, I thought you were going to say something really serious like pineapple on pizza, because that will just throw everybody off.
Whoa, pineapple on pizza is good.
Whoa.
It's an abomination.
Hey.
It's an abomination. My wife totally gives me the side eye. I have to like get like a personal, very itty bitty ham and pineapple pizza. But I think it's funny at my job when we have those days where we do hand out pizza, the ham and pineapple is always the first one to go. But meanwhile, pepperoni pizza is like over there in the corner because nobody wants heartburn.
Oh, man. That's
Give me
a classic.
heartburn.
Give me heartburn any day. I can take it. My body can stomach it for sure. But yeah, guys, anything else before we move on? Yes, no?
Yeah, I think I'd say the only thing I agree with Centurion on everything but one thing. He said that Microsoft will keep doing gold as long as like Sony's doing it because they do the same thing, like their competition does the same thing. I think there's a point where Game Pass can be big enough that getting rid of gold can be a huge boon for their for the ecosystem, where they can be like, come here because we don't do this.
No,
I don't think we're there yet at all.
Maybe I misspoke. I was actually saying that Microsoft is not going to make online multiplayer, like the ability to play online multiplayer, free because Sony is not doing that direction. There is a few games, like free to play games, that you can play on Sony's network without shelling out your credit card information. But those games are very few and far between. I really think Microsoft should meet up at least with a free to play game. But
they did.
Okay, cool.
Microsoft does do free to play games for free. You do like Halo Infinite. You don't need gold to play it online.
See that's where I'm a little behind on times on that one because I've always had a gold subscription, so I've never noticed.
Yep.
But
you remember back when like the gold hike happened?
Yes.
And
that's
everyone
right. Now it is coming back to memory.
And that was one of the outcomes of the gold hike, right? Having to be reversed. They also said that they would make free to play games, free to play, but no barriers. I think eventually, if Game Pass is lucrative enough for them on the platform, they could end gold simply because they could use it as a come to our platform because we don't charge for anything. And I think it would be a big thing to against competition, right? That, hey, we can move in this direction because Game Pass is giving us the subsidy that gold normally would.
Right.
And we can attract more customers from our competition because we aren't charging for this. And then they can continue to boost the numbers. We're not there yet. I don't think we'll be there till late in this generation, maybe early next generation, to the point where like that could be enough. I could see it being the Xbox Series XX or whatever the hell the horrible name they're going to come up with for the next console generation. I could see it starting with, hey, we're ending this. We don't need it anymore. Not anytime soon.
Yeah.
That was my only point in that.
I'm just one of those guys that want to point out that, I understand everybody wants the online multiplayer to be free, but one of the reasons why I prefer to game on console, everything's on PC, but some of the most craziest stuff that could ever happen in an online multiplayer game always takes place on PC with bots, mods, hacks, all this other stuff. And the only thing you have to worry about when you're playing on console is if the guy has a keyboard and mouse.
That's only true for the current generation. That was not true on the 360 in the slightest.
Oh yeah, that was on. No, we're talking that's definitely given the 360. I'm talking today though.
I don't know that gold protects us from that rather than security of the hardware and how the private keys of the hardware are locked down. I don't know that I can attribute that to people because people were paying for gold on the 360 and that nonsense still happened. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know that it's gold protecting us from hackers rather than good security in the hardware keys.
So now, but that's where, at least if you look at the 360 era, like PlayStation, it was free. Xbox, it was like what, $6 bucks.
I don't remember.
And the only thing is, like I did think it was very stupid that they had to lock Netflix and other streaming services behind the gold subscription. That was just dumb. But I just always noticed, like, if you look at how the ecosystem functioned on PlayStation compared to how the ecosystem functioned on Xbox, people
it's
had
night and day better on Xbox.
Oh yeah, and that's what I mean. You could see where your $5-6 was going.
Yeah, I was on PS3 before I was on an Xbox. And for anyone in chat, I left the PS3 because I was part of the giant hack.
Yeah,
and came to 360. I just don't know that that's necessarily true in today, like for today. Does that make sense? Because like party chat's not locked behind gold anymore. The LFG's not locked behind gold anymore.
You don't have to have gold
it's
to
really
order
only
pizza
specific
from your
games.
Xbox.
What?
Said you don't need Xbox Live Gold to order Pizza Hut from your Xbox.
Yeah, remember that? That was so funny. I did that once on a whim.
That's so random.
That was.
Never forget what they took from us.
Oh, Don Matrick.
Well, dude, I still laugh and joke about the fact that apparently the flop of the Xbox One was because you could talk to your console, but heaven forbid your console can hear you, but it's all right to ask your Alexa or Google device to order pizzas and stuff for you now.
It was ahead of its time. Like,
the Netflix was smart because they had that exclusive too for a bit.
Yeah.
It was ahead of its time. Yeah.
I think if the Kinect launched with the Xbox Series X and did all those things and could also like link into things like that it would be a much different thing now. Does that make sense? Like I feel like they tried to do it 4 or 5 years too early.
I think actually they should see the fact that you can plug an Alexa device into the Xbox and actually still have some of the kind of same functionalities. But I really feel that Microsoft should really embrace that, because if you look at what a lot of people nowadays have their homes set up to be very hands-free, we've got Nest devices, lights, and the fact that like if you could walk into your house and like say, Xbox, turn on my damn home, dude, it would be insane at that point because the Alexa device is working in tandem with the Xbox.
If they do that, it would be very low key if they introduce something like a Kinect, because they don't want the same backlash.
They don't want
no,
they don't want to repeat the non-Magic era.
Yeah, they don't want a repeat of anything like that. If they do, it's going to be very low key. It's going to be like, oh yeah, we have this, and there's a few games that might take advantage of this, and so on. And I've said it before on the show. I always liked the Kinect. I thought it was a nice add-on, but that's me personally. Just too bad what happened, but because of messaging and so on, obviously everybody knows the history. Just it kind of sucks. But
I miss screen and screen, where you could have like half your screen be like a YouTube vid and half your screen be the game.
Oh yeah,
I miss that.
Yeah, I actually know the feature you're talking about. It was like 2-screen or whatever.
Picture in picture. That's
picture
the
in
actual
picture. There we go.
Yeah. I missed the picture in picture.
I still miss being able to wave my hands at my console like a damn Jedi.
Yes, wax on, wax off, Mr. Centurion.
Yes, Mr. Miyagi was here in conducting me in all the kinetic moves. Sorry, Kinect. I call it the kinetic. I don't know why.
Well,
because it's a better word.
Hey,
it's a real word.
Look on the bright side, guys. At least we didn't get the glowing dildo sticks, right? So.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
So.
Oh my God.
That's why I like the Kinect. Kinect was just like you're playing in the air, invisible everything, whereas you actually had to hold glowing different colored dildo sticks.
I'm sorry that I'm honking.
Yes. You are honking, damn. I gotta clip that after the show. Oh man. But all right, guys, I think we'll move on to our third and final topic, since we're all laughing at the moment. Okay, and although this could like branch off into a few different things, and a few days ago, PlayStation announced the release date for God of War Ragnarok. It's releasing November 9th on the PlayStation 4 and 5, respectively. We also got a new trailer alongside the announcement. Crusader, my friend, after you're done catching your breath from your honking, I know you're a bit of a fan of the series. What are your thoughts on, if you've seen the new trailer and just the release date for the game in general? Like, is this sooner than what you thought? Later? Is it a good time frame? Please give me your thoughts.
I mean, it's literally 2 days before I thought they were going to launch it. I thought that they were going to launch it on the 11th of November just because they could. It's the exact like period window that I thought they were going to launch it. I would like to say this before I go too deep into discussion. Be nice to devs. Do not solicit body parts to devs. I Centurion talked on this earlier. Do not harass devs for release dates. Do not harass devs. Be good to devs. Because some unacceptable things happened surrounding the God of War release date that we haven't talked about on here, and I don't want to go too far into them. But be good to devs community. I don't think I have to speak directly to anyone in this community, but it's always good to say it. Be good to people. Be good to everyone. That being said, I am very excited for God of War Ragnarok. It is my it will be in my top 5 of the year. I judge games by how much of the good chemicals they insert into my brain, and currently it's going to be a little hard to beat Destiny 2: The Witch Queen for this year. Probably also going to be hard to beat Pokemon, which is also coming out this year. But I am very, very excited for God of War Ragnarok. I know there's a little bit of controversy surrounding the fact that its collector's edition isn't launching with the game. If we're going to be mad at Sony Santa Monica for that, we need to be mad at like 80% of the industry for that, because that's a common thing that Ubisoft does. It's a common thing that EA does. Like, everyone does it. I think it's a load of crap that people are singling out Sony Santa Monica for it when everyone does it.
Well,
like, if you're mad about that and you do not like it, that is acceptable, because like those collector's editions are meant for collectors who want the physical media. And I get being mad at that. It is a fine thing to be mad about, but don't just call them out. Call every studio out that's ever done it. Because they are not deserving allowed. Heck, I bought the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Collector's Edition, that comes with the helmet. Have you guys seen that? It comes with like the N7 helmet and everything. Yep. And it came with an empty steelbook, and I was fine with that because I don't collect physical media. But like I get it. Like, people want the physical disc, you know?
Yeah, Halo 5 Guardians was the same way. I remember that.
If I see anyone warring the console streets about this, get out of my timeline. If you're mad about it, though, you do have a right to be mad about it. Just, again, make sure we're calling it out everywhere. I think that it was a little shocking that they didn't show gameplay. I'm a little sad they didn't show more gameplay. I want to see more of it. And I know some people were yelling at like Tom Henderson and Jason Schreier and our newest great insider, the Snitch,
Yes.
that they had all pointed that it was going to be announced on that Thursday. From what I understand from my inside, my slight, ever so slight inside knowledge of the gaming industry from being on r/gaming leaks and rumors as a mod, political reasons in the United States, and that's all we're going to say about that, is why Sony Santa Monica chose to not announce it on the day they had originally planned. Tom Henderson and all of them were correct that it was going to be announced, that game, until a very late decision that they didn't want to have their news be in the news cycle. That there were more important things in the news cycle than their game, and it was going to be moved to the next week.
My question, though, Crusader,
yes.
is Did Starfield getting delayed make it a big factor for this date that they chose?
I don't see if it did. They would have chosen the same day. In my opinion, they would have put it on the 11th. I think that they moved to more comfortably to November because Starfield isn't there, but I don't think they chose specifically the 9th of November because of Starfield. I think it was probably more or less an even move from like probably they were probably looking to launch it on like a September 9th or like or somewhere in there, and they just delayed it 2 months because internally, from what I understand, it was supposed to originally launch or one of the dates it had this year. From it's had several internal delays. That basically they would put it, they would set it 2 months, right? And if they realized that they weren't going to hit that, they would move it by 2 months. And if they realized they weren't going to hit that, they would move it by 2 months incrementally internally. And that's not a very uncommon thing for like any studio to do. Like, don't think that like, oh no, it's in trouble because they've internally delayed it a bunch of times. It happens. It is very, very common for a game that does not have a date announced yet to be moved in such a manner, especially post-COVID. And I think that they feel that it will comfortably come out in November, and they are very comfortable launching it in November because they don't have massive competition there. And I think it had to move past October because has anyone seen the calendar lineup of October? It's freaking nuts.
Call of Duty probably. I can't remember what else, to be honest.
Call of Duty, Plague Tale, Persona.
Oh yeah, Scorn.
There's at least the Square Enix has a JRPG coming out that's not Forspoken. What is it? It's the Star Ocean.
Oh right, yeah. Actually, Forspoken's interesting too because during the same God of War announcement, that same PlayStation timed exclusive, it got delayed, right?
Yeah, and it got delayed. They explicitly said it got delayed after talking to their whatchamacallit partners. And I talked about this to quite an extent on Mooch's Crossfire show. I think that Forspoken was specifically moved so that it can survive sales because it would realistically be going up against God of War on the same platform, and they would be cannibalizing a game that they spent money to get exclusive. I think it was. I don't think Forspoken was delayed because of technical reasons. I'm pretty sure it was delayed for financial reasons. Because I mean, it would be launching something like 2 weeks before God of War. I think, right? And people aren't going to go buy that when God of War is coming out like 2 weeks later. You know, that they're going to be cannibalistic towards each other's sales, towards the core audience of like PlayStation gamers. Like we are a core Xbox audience, and they're similar enough that their genres overlap quite hard because like you don't really have to worry about like a Forza Horizon cannibalizing a Halo Infinite like Microsoft did because they're such a disparate like audience, you know. Like I mean all of us kind of enjoy both, but we're not quite as normal, you know. So I think I think Forspoken being moved was purely financial.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that maybe a little bit of it was like the game needs polished, but like maybe they wanted to delay it to like into November, right? But they can't. They cannot delay it into God of War time.
Yeah,
you know?
but
It
not
will
to
damage
interrupt.
the game.
Not to interrupt, but it just I don't know where you're gonna fit this game, especially next year.
Exactly.
Like it's just you
I
either
think that's why they
believe in
put
it.
it early January.
You either believe in it or you don't because there are so many games that have been moved.
There's a lot of games that have been moved, but have a lot of them been moved into the January slot because a lot of them are falling into like next February or March. January is typically a lighter time, so I think it'll be okay in January. I really do, because the only thing that I can think of in January that's really competing with is Dead Space, and those are very disparate games. They are very not the same genre, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas Forspoken is a third-person action game. I mean, it's an RPG, but it is a very much an action game, and so is God of War is also a third-person action game, and they are both console exclusives that Sony paid for. You know, like Sony paid for the Forspoken exclusive. They paid for 2 full years of it. You know, so I think that Sony wants to fit that in a period of their calendar where they themselves don't really have coverage, right? That there might be some third party that has coverage, but they don't have coverage. So like they are getting the benefit out of it that they're hoping for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because like they're like if they're competing with a third party, it's one thing. They don't want to compete with themselves. That's the bottom line, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my opinion on Forspoken. God of War, very excited, very very excited.
All right. Anybody else on the panel looking forward to God of War? Anybody with a PlayStation? Eric, are you interested at all in God of War?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I remember I bought it way back when it first released on the PS4. I definitely didn't get too far. I was a few hours in. I've definitely been meaning to play it. I own it digitally on my PlayStation, so especially after the patches and that you can play at 60 FPS now, I definitely need to go back in and knock it out. But I got plenty of time before November, so. But yeah, I was definitely big on the like originals, like the first one, back on the PS2. So, but yeah, definitely what the jump from the what do you call like the Devil May Cry aesthetic from the PS2 to the jump to hack and slash to the more behind the shoulder, you know, more of like similar to their other titles, to make it like this third person action. It's pretty dope. So but yeah, they know what they're doing over there at Santa Monica with the with Cory Barlog. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully it's even more open. I know they showed some of the map and were showing like, oh, look at this world, but you know, you were like, but can you actually go to those areas? So but yeah, we'll see how like open and much bigger the world is, and yeah, definitely looking forward to it. So hopefully it lands this November, but if not, looks like next year is going to be the busy year that we thought this year was going to be. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually have it downloaded on my PlayStation 5, the game from 2018. I haven't, again, another game I haven't had a chance to play, but I will get to it soon. I promise, guys. I promise, because I am looking forward to the one coming out in November. How about you, Centurion? You have a PlayStation 4, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or no? I can't remember, to be honest.
Oh wow! Wow, I muted myself. Wow. I have a PS5, my good friend.
Oh yeah,
I have
you
a
do.
PS4. Yeah, I got a PS5 on launch, and I'm not trying to say that to brag. I'm just saying that I put a lot of damn hard work into forcing that thing through over on Target.
Oh yes, yes, I remember. Yes, you know what? You're correct. I remember those conversations as well. So on PlayStation 5, is this a title that when it comes out in November, do you plan on picking it up?
I do plan on picking it up. To be honest, I bought the big $200 edition of the last one, and I'm probably gonna try to get the one with Mjolnir and the hammer and all the other stuff like the cloth map, the dice, all that good stuff. I was one of those. I was kind of shocked that all of a sudden Sony decided to pull the disc out of the box. I know other companies do this, but the last edition they didn't. Now this time you are. I like how some of the articles are trying to make up for it by the keeper of knowledge chest. They're like, oh, it's a keeper of knowledge chest. It's a cardboard box. I thought the box art on the other one was absolutely amazing. I kept it, but it's still a cardboard box. Please do not try to convince me that a cardboard box is a good trade-off for the fact that the game is not in there. Yeah, you're going to have the steel case. You know, it's one of those display things. Was I totally upset? No, because honestly, I think the hammer looks cool enough. Now I have talked so much trash about PlayStation over the years just to kind of be chideful, but for me, I was not a fan of the hack and slash God of War. I did not like the concept of the game. I was not a big fan of just running around slashing and everything and some quick time events and Kratos screaming constantly. So I will be upfront. I did not get into the games. And then I knew they were redoing the game. I knew they had Corey Barlog doing it. I still was not interested. I was not interested until the day I found out that they had cast Christopher Judge as Kratos, as older Kratos. For those I've said it on other shows, for those not familiar, Christopher Judge is actually big in the sci-fi community.
Teal'c.
Got one of it. Teal'c, yeah, Stargate SG-1, the big old guy with the big gold emblem on his forehead. Every time he would look at, I believe his name is Atreus. Is that his name?
Yeah.
The sun.
Yeah. I don't want to
Atreus,
call him Atreus because that's the never-ending story, but Atreus.
Okay, Bastion.
I know, right? But every time he looked at Atreus and was like, boy, I'm like, oh man, there's Teal'c right there. I could just hear Teal'c in the voice. That's what made me go out and buy it, because I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to go out and get this. I actually love the statue of Kratos and the collector's edition that it came with. And I've been happy now with God of War as it is. And I just actually sat down at work, believe it or not, with a girl that I work with who actually enjoyed playing the original God of War games, but because she's now had a kid and all this other stuff, she does not know anything about the remake. And when I told her about how now it's the story of Kratos and his son and this great big story, and how Kratos' wife died, and now there's this built up animosity between them because that was the glue that held them together. It's a much more dramatic story, a heartfelt story. And she's like, oh my God, I need to check this out because it sounds totally different than what was originally God of War. And that was the whole reason why I actually enjoy this version of God of War. I'm looking forward to Ragnarok. I'm looking forward to how they're going to advance the story even more. I am excited for the game. But that being said, I'm still trepidatious about the fact that we have not seen gameplay. I'm trepidatious because I have seen multiple game companies, developers, publishers combined, Microsoft, EA, the list, I will run out of fingers and toes over game delays that just came out of left field. I'm not going to say God of War is going to be delayed, but what I am going to say is I am not going to have my expectations so damn high that if something comes out of left field, that I'm going to be heartbroken. And that's where I'm excited for the game, yes. But does the game need to come out in November to basically, feed my desires as a gamer? No. If it comes out, it comes out. I'll be there to buy it. But if by some chance it doesn't, the only reason why I say that is because we all look at how Cyberpunk held back gameplay and other games held back gameplay, and that kind of bit them in the butt. I don't want to see Sony force a game out just because Microsoft doesn't have anything.
If I may, it's still a cross-gen sequel. I mean, we know there's some assets being reused. Like, how bad could it possibly be?
No, and that's where I'm saying that's where I'm really wanting. That's the other half of the argument, is I really don't think that this is going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. It's going to be more of great bread, but it's not going to be new bread. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I think it looks fine. I do agree though that we do need to see more gameplay, because that is a little concerning being this late in the game.
I think that's probably why they're hiding the gameplay, is because people are going to be like, this looks like it's just more of the original game. Well, yeah.
Well, that's what people
it's
want,
a sequel.
right?
Like, I don't expect most sequels to be exceptionally different unless their whole marketing for it is that this is a new experience. Like the original God of War, I don't say the original God of War 2018, like the first one in this new series. That was the whole marketing for it, right? It was a brand new thing, and they're not doing that with this, and it's fine. Like I don't particularly care. You know what I mean? Like I'm in this for the fact that it seems like they're going to correct the very few mistakes that the first one made, which like enemy variety was one of the big things. You know, they didn't have enough different mini bosses and like regular enemy variety, and one of the things that they were stressing in the interviews was that there's more, and we do need to see it, but I do tend to believe them that they say that there's more variety. I don't have a reason to be distrustful of Sony Santa Monica at this point. Like I do have some reason to like be distrustful of like anything CD Projekt Red will tell me at this point, you know, after Cyberpunk. So I'm going into this very optimistically with them. I think that I do think you're right with the delay, you know, that people should be until you have it in your hand. You should be concerned about a
I'm
delay.
I'm not saying that Sony Santa Monica is going to do something, but
Yeah.
we all saw how a germ completely flipped
Sure.
the world up on it. Like, does anybody got a crystal ball to know what's going to happen in November?
Yep. I do think that part of the reason why we're not getting gameplay is that they are putting all of their resources towards finishing it as opposed to making a vertical slice. Because I'm sure still at this point there are still some rough areas, and they are more working on that than editing together a gameplay trailer, which is unfortunate. I want to see it, you know. Who knows? Maybe this will be the reason to distrust Sony Santa Monica. I don't think it will, but you know, it always could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, we'll see. You know, in the coming weeks and months, hopefully we get some new gameplay that everyone's been asking for.
Is the game even up for pre-order yet?
I believe it is.
The editions are, so I believe it is.
Yeah.
Well, are the editions up?
Yeah, they are. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So get your hands on that while you can, fellas. I've seen a lot of interesting photoshops for the special collector's editions, to say the least.
Wow.
Yeah, they look okay. Yeah, if you really love God of War, then you'll probably be going for them. But did any of you guys, like, we're gonna round off this topic, but did any of you guys catch some other PlayStation news? PlayStation removing certain purchase content?
I've known about this.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it until you posted it, but I did read the article because that crap makes me really annoyed. When anyone does it. I don't mind stuff getting delisted from stores, mind you. I mind it when I can't download it if I purchased it. Like, stuff might not be able to be listed forever, but I should be able to download it forever. Ubisoft and Sony have both pissed me off equally about this week.
Now, for those of you that don't know, PlayStation is removing certain purchase content from certain accounts next month, citing licensing agreements, and it's specifically pertaining to, again, this is for video stuff, whether it be TV shows, movies, and so on, for publisher Studio Canal, and it's removing content from Austria and Germany. So some films in question, there's a whole slew of them, but some films like Apocalypse Now, Blair Witch, Daredevil, John Wick, and again, a whole lot of others. But guys, what do you think about this? Because I'm pretty sure if it was Xbox or Microsoft doing this on any of their stores, there would be a really huge outcry. I mean, it's just kind of mind-boggling situation here. Honestly, what do you think, Crusader?
Annoys the living crap out of me. A lot. Now, see, I don't know how many people it's going to affect. But even affecting one user is kind of really unacceptable. Sony did what? They got out of them selling TV film on their store, right? Like they don't actually sell movies anymore, do they? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they sell stuff through the PlayStation anymore. This is more that like if you had already bought it.
I believe so.
I thought they ended their selling of TV and film like maybe a year or two ago. But yeah, this is really annoying that the licensing agreement that they had in the first place to sell stuff could potentially involve users losing access to stuff that they paid for. That's just a bad licensing agreement that they signed, and better hope that they didn't do this with any game publishers. Now, luckily, I don't think Sony will be getting out of the video game business anytime soon, or like selling of video games. So I don't know that we necessarily have to worry about this necessarily translating into the video game environment. So I'm really not worried about it there from anyone but Ubisoft, who just pulled this shit with many of their older games, where even if you own the single player games, you are going to lose access to them. It's not great. If people want to be mad about stuff being taken off the stores, be mad at Sony, but speak up a little bit more. If you care about this with gaming, speak up a little bit more about Ubisoft doing it in gaming.
Yes.
Shit's nonsense. Like I know Assassin's Creed Liberation is just going away if you actually own that game. If you have it through the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster, you still get to keep it because it's through that, because they just released that. But if you own the original on the with the 360 version, or you own it on PC, you're just losing it. It is nonsense when any company pulls anything like this.
MLD.
Be mad.
Yeah, Ubisoft. What was last week, wasn't it? Crusader.
I can get an article for you after the show.
Yeah, because Ubisoft announced that they would be delisting a few of their games, and it's just
they're ending online support for a bunch of them, which includes their authentication. So even if you like some of them, you'll be able to play the base game, but if you own the DLCs, even if they're single player DLCs, you won't be able to access them because they can't be authenticated anymore. It's nonsense.
But would the game still be available on their Ubisoft Plus service?
Some of them, no.
Really?
Like,
wow.
The original Assassin's Creed Liberation is disappearing. The only way you're going to be able to play that game is through the mess of a port through the Assassin's Creed 3 remaster.
Like I could understand them delisting it to promote their own subscription service, but that's just weird.
They're ending support for games because they don't want to have to host the multiplayer they don't want to have to host the authentication servers anymore for them.
Right.
It's purely a fiscal thing that upper management wanted to make cuts, and so they're cutting the hosting of this stuff. Like this people should be. I do have a tweet out about it where I'm furious with Ubisoft and Ubisoft support. Like if people want to stop stuff like this, the amount of people who are going to care about Sony stopping movies is one thing. I mean, it is just as bad there for the movies, but you're not going to get as many people to care. I don't think you are, because it just doesn't affect as many people. But you tell people that in the future their Ubisoft stuff could go away, because Ubisoft's very popular. A lot of their games very, very popular. You know, like Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Tom Clancy. Splinter Cell. Some of the Splinter Cell games are affected by this. I know there's a couple that they're delisting and you can't play, and they don't have functional like Liberation. They don't have functional ways to play them. So go out and be mad at Ubisoft. That is my call of the night. Go out and be mad at Ubisoft. I mean, it's not a hard thing to tell people to be mad at Ubisoft. Ubisoft has made quite a few mistakes over the past couple of years, but this is actually an anti-consumer, horrible thing that Sony and Ubisoft are doing here. And in gaming, Ubisoft is making the worst. It's the worst. In general, it's the same.
Now, guys, I like a variety of things. I can't keep everything physical, even though I do like owning physical preferably, but I do download games. I buy games digitally as well, because again, it's very simple, it's very easy to do, and there's a lot of good sales when it comes to digital as well. But again, with these kinds of moves, I know some people are going to argue, well, it's just Austria, it's just Germany. Those are actually some pretty big markets, and okay, that is for film and movie and TV show and so on. But if this were to affect games, and as Crusader was saying about Ubisoft too recently delisting some things, or some of the online components not being able to work again, does it make us wary of like digital agreements and digital licenses as a whole. Like,
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
At least it can be, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, like, everything just seems to be accelerating with digital. I remember, again, back to the Xbox One days when that was announced and everybody had a cow when it came to digital content and always online and whatnot. Now that's the way to go. That's the way to go now, ironically enough. But in a way, it is a little slippery slope, and we have to watch out with lots of these user agreements. And sometimes you have to read through, like, when you open up some games and there's these licensing agreements, and there's like, how many pages do you have to scroll down before you agree to it, and so on. Does anybody read that? No. No, unfortunately not. Hell, I'm guilty of that too. I just want to go and play the game and whatnot. But it is very anti-consumer in my opinion. All of this, it's very unfair to the consumer to just take away something you already bought. Eric, buddy, I mean, I would love to know your thoughts as we're kind of rounding out the show here. Like, what are your thoughts on this whole, like, I almost want to say digital fiasco when it comes to like on Sony's end with the removal of these this digital content? Like, do you think it's gonna get any worse from here?
I mean, I don't think so. I think because they already started discontinuing allowing you to like purchase or like rent movies on their platform, whereas Xbox still does that, still like promotes it. So since they've already took those away from the store, I don't think most people are going to even gripe about this. I don't know if people had that big of a collection. Even if they did, the ones they were probably selling to you at that time were probably either standard def, maybe they were HD. Who knows if they were much more quality, than that. But some of them probably were the standard definition that people were buying at that time. But I mean, I don't think there's enough people that are going to be that upset about it. So, but yeah, kind of sucks if you did invest in it. If they just like pulled them from your collection, it would definitely be probably bad for people that actually invest on the Xbox side, because they've been doing it a lot longer and promoting it. So you might have a much bigger collection, and then them just like turning it off, in 5 years, not only turning it off, but like just like taking it from your like your library, which
So,
would make any sense.
I'm not sure how it would even work with Microsoft, because you get, with almost everything like video wise that you purchased on the Microsoft store with game, like with movies, you get a dual license with Movies Anywhere. So like
okay.
Movies Anywhere would also have to go down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's why I buy all my movies on Microsoft Store.
Oh, okay.
Well, they're all about game preservation and whatnot, anyways, right? So
yeah, and they'd be fighting like hell to keep the licenses.
Yeah, that's why it didn't really make sense, because like you have like, I use Vudu for mine that ties into Movies Anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like they have like there are some studios that aren't on certain platforms, because I'll have mine both tied to Movies Anywhere, and like for example, if I got what was it? I think it was the last 007 movie that came out, Time to Kill, or
No Time to Die.
No Time to Die. So I have that on Apple, but it doesn't transfer over to my Vudu account, because Movies Anywhere that links those two together does not have that movie in their selection. So it doesn't link over, because sometimes I'll have things on my Apple account. If I purchased, it'll translate and link over and give me the rights to it on Vudu, even though those are completely separate, because Movies Anywhere links them together. As long as Movies Anywhere has the title, then it can link them together. So I mean, so not all of those, digital platforms have everything, because there are some studios that they just, for whatever reason, aren't on Movies Anywhere but are on Apple. Just dumb. But for the most part, if those platforms can have a plethora of movies and keep the license for you for, I've had stuff on there that's linked with Movies Anywhere that I purchased with the old style where you put the DVD in and then download the rights to the digital media and do it that way. Like the whole old school, you'd actually have to put it in a CD-ROM to get the digital. It has some of those titles on there. So if that can happen, I don't know why they're pulling them unless it's really costing them a lot of money, I guess. I don't know. But it is sad to see if, like, they have to pull it, but I'm able to get digital rights on all these different platforms for a DVD that you load in and download the title. It's pretty funny.
All right. How about you, Centurion? Any final thoughts on this?
It's tragic that this is starting to become a thing. We've seen Disney shell game some of their titles around on services. Like I've been a big user of Vudu for the longest time. That's because I've just been building a library of movies that I could take around with me and my wife when we go places. But I've seen them move stuff around. Like, well, you could still watch it here, but technically you no longer have the rights here. But Disney is allowing us to share it with Movies Anywhere. And because you have it hooked up with Movies Anywhere, it still translates over. Even though I originally used the ultraviolet code or whatever it was at the time on Vudu, it got transferred over. All my rights were put into Movies Anywhere. So I've been used to my digital rights moving around. That being said, because Invader has seen photos of my home, I am the keeper of almost 600 physical discs when it comes to movies. I love collecting movies. If you want to watch something in true 4K, can't stream it. Got to go straight to the hardware. Sorry. It's just the way it is. You could stream it. Yeah, you can stream it, but are you going to consistently be getting the right bit rate at the right frame rate with the right resolution? You're going to need hardware to have that kind of
get the audio.
Huh?
100% you will not get the audio.
Oh, yes. And that's where I love having the physical discs. I like being able to, touch them, hug my movie collection. I mean, I've got movies in my collection that some people that like get odd because I actually have the physical copies of Ewoks.
No.
So I have
no. I don't know what else to say, but oh no.
So I have James Bond all the way back to Dr. No, like hella, and I think that was like in the early 60s. I enjoy having physical media when it comes to movies. I even have the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things on here in this collection, and the only reason why I got them was because I thought it was cool that they mocked them up to look like a VHS tape. But that, it's just one of those things where with games, Microsoft made me feel very comfortable to invest digitally with games. But when it came to movies, I never really felt that I never really felt that my movies were always going to be there or they could be moved around because of what has happened to me, which is why I actually don't really buy movies digitally. I use the little code cards that come with the movies or anytime, or like what Shockley said, the discs. But I'm not out there physically hooking my card up to these systems and buying movies on Xbox, movies on Vudu or any service just because, forgive me, I'm a resolution whore and I prefer to have the physical disc.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have 50 copies of Pretty Woman, right? So.
Oh, God, yeah. Richard Gere, Julia Roberts.
Well,
that's actually not one movie in my collection.
Well, I don't know, man.
So luckily with Xbox, I'm fairly certain you can download the movies. Can you?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I have the Lord of the Rings movies downloaded directly to my console. I don't stream them.
Actually, that's a good question.
I know you could back on the 360, which you kind of
yeah,
had to because streaming
know-
was in its infancy.
I know on my phone with Movies Anywhere, I have some of them installed. I'm almost positive. Like I also like owning the movies are like the one physical media left that like if I like the movie enough, I will buy it. I have the Indiana Jones. I have Lord of the Rings. I have the Hobbit. Looking to get the Star Wars, but I want a special edition to come out that has like 9 of them in it.
Oh, dude, you haven't seen the $250 one? I keep asking my wife for it. I'm still waiting for her to let me. The Skywalker saga that comes in the silver packaging.
The what?
It's called Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. Normal price is about $250, man. I want this thing so damn bad.
Send me a link after the show. I'm gonna definitely ask for it from someone for Christmas.
Oh boy, here we go, guys.
Well, I think it's funny he's bringing up Lord of the Rings because actually it was The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. It was the first time I actually was like, you know what, I'm gonna watch this movie streaming. I could see the frame rate drop watching. I thought I was gonna go cross-eyed. I was like, what the hell is wrong? And then all of a sudden I had to like go on the internet and look it up that because you have the disc, you're able to deliver a faster frame rate. And I was naturally seeing the difference in the frame rates. I couldn't watch it.
That's incredible.
Very interesting. All right, guys. Anything? Any other comments, or we all done with this? All right. And, well, okay, guys, I think on that note, we'll leave off on that, and we'll start to wind down the show. Overall fun talk all around from the crew. Certainly a never-ending amount of things to discuss. Again, tonight we went over Bethesda crunch allegations and talk. Xbox soon removing Xbox 360 games from the Games with Gold. And a whole bunch of PlayStation talk. Lots of good stuff to go over. And, you know, I thought we had a great chat tonight, but what did you all think, everybody listening in? Please let us know in the comments, and hey, leave a like if you enjoyed the talk tonight. It's really appreciated that to see you all here in the chat, and everybody just tuning in. We really like it. We really appreciate you. And with all that said, let's go over to the outros, starting off with Centurion. Buddy, hey, I thought you had some really great points tonight. On fire as per usual. Where can everybody follow you at?
Well, guys, it was definitely fun. Enjoyed all the combos. Thank you to everyone in the chat that joined us. Be sure to give the show a subscribe and a like. Invader is a very hardworking individual. And for those interested in finding me, please find me at Centurion1307 on YouTube, Xbox Live, and Twitter. You can also find me right here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. And in the coming weeks, you will also be able to find me on Gaming Beyond the Box with the amazing, strong-headed Wilmy Hood. You know, my heart goes out to him and his family. He has been through a lot this year. He has definitely been taking some time off from the show, and he does plan to refire that thing up here in the next couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, me too. You know, I love the Gaming Beyond the Box crew, so hey, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure many others are. Moving on the list, who do we got here? Crusader Buddy. Hey, again, another person with some really awesome takes tonight. Great to see you tonight, pal. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, everyone can find me at Crusader3456 on basically every platform. You can add me on Xbox, Destiny. I don't care. I'll play whatever, talk whatever, have a good time. Especially find me on Twitter, where you're definitely going to hear me be talking about Centurion owning the Ewoks movies physically tonight. That's definitely happening. But yeah, you know, everyone like, subscribe. Good show.
Buy or buy not. There is no try. Let's see here. Moving on down. Eric Shockley, buddy. Hey, again, another stellar show from you. Where can all these fine people follow you?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at ShockNero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, good show tonight. Good topics. But yeah, see you later.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, pal. Agreed. And who else do we got here? General MLD, pal. Hey, I thought you had some really good takes too. You know, always solid on all the issues, all the discussions. Where can all these awesome individuals find you at?
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You can find me at MLD Ghost on Twitter, gamertag Ghost MLD. You see me playing this and that. Otherwise, yeah, this was a great show. Had a lot of fun, and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And yeah, just to round out the crew, you all can follow me on Twitter at invader_1986. I'm also a content creator, in case you didn't know. You can find all my videos, reviews, gameplay, and all that on YouTube and Odyssey and many other sites at Invader Gaming. Fun times tonight, and we're already looking forward to seeing you here on the next one, next Sunday. Later, everyone. See ya.